In this lesson, we'll take a look at combining alcohol-based markers and colored pencils to create a realistic drawing. We'll start with a light graphite sketch of only the contours on marker paper. Marker paper is a smooth surface that's designed to accept multiple applications of the alcohol-based markers. For this demonstration, we'll create a base application of the markers on which over the top we'll apply multiple applications of the colored pencils, strengthening the color and the contrast. Initially, we'll just look for overall shapes of color. In this case, we're starting with Spanish orange, filling in broader shapes of color. Then we can switch over to a 20% cool gray and start developing some of the shapes that we see with this color. Even though we're developing the ice cubes at this point, there's quite a variety of different colors that exist here. And although we're creating a representational drawing, and this is our goal, we'll also pull out a few of the colors to make a more aesthetically successful color scheme. In this example, we'll focus on enhancing the reds, yellows, and blues that we see, focusing on a primary color scheme. We'll continue developing these light applications using the 20% cool gray up along the top of the rim and sides of the glass. We'll also make these applications on the lower portion of the glass as well. Drawing subjects made of glass can be intimidating for just about anyone, but for now we're only concentrating on the basic shapes of color and value. Next, we'll switch over to our third color, and we'll begin addressing some of the darker tones that happen in the ice cubes. In this case, the color that we're using is dark brown. Now, of course, in most circumstances, ice cubes aren't dark brown, but in this case, it's the color of the drink that's in the glass. This color is reflected up through the ice cubes and becomes visible on top. These darker tones, of course, exist in the drink as well, so we'll apply a few applications of the dark brown here as well. Now, the contrast in this area is very strong at this point, so we need to tone it down a bit, and for this, we'll apply a bit of sienna brown over the top of the entire lower portion, leaving just a few sections of the Spanish orange to still show through. We'll skip back up to the rim of the glass at this point and start to increase some of the contrast here with a bit of 50% cool gray. We'll also add a bit of this 50% cool gray to portions of the ice cubes as well. And again on the lower portion of the glass. Typically, when we're drawing glass subjects, we're going to notice that we have areas of strong contrast that happen. Usually there aren't transitions of value, meaning a gradation from light to dark. Usually it's a stark change between light and dark values. We can clearly see this on the bottom portion of the glass and the upper portion of the glass. We still need to add a slightly lighter value to the ice cubes though, and for this we'll use 20% warm gray. This value is only slightly darker than the white of the paper and may seem almost unnoticeable, but it makes a huge difference in making the image appear more representational. We'll continue increasing and enhancing the contrast in the image, this time adding a bit of 70% cool gray to areas. You can see how much this darker value makes a difference. Here again, we're just creating basic shapes with this application. We'll apply some of the 70% cool gray in the lower section of the glass as well. We'll leave a few areas of light space in between to create highlights. Each additional marker application makes the value slightly darker. This is true even if you're applying a lighter valued color over the top. In this case, we're applying a bit of light tan in areas to make the value slightly darker. To keep the work harmonious, we'll apply this color in areas of the ice cube and at the bottom part of the glass as well. Now our base applications made with the markers are in place, and we can start focusing on applying colored pencils. The colored pencil applications, of course, will enhance the colors, increase the contrast, and add a bit more clarity to the edges of things within the scene. We'll start with an application of indigo blue in the areas of darkest value on the ice cube. We'll enhance and strengthen the colors with a bit of Spanish orange, and we can also create transitions of value using a bit of the color sand and various different grays. To smooth transitions even further, we can go over the top of these applications using a colorless blender. This colorless blender will remove some of the texture that's left behind by the colored pencil applications, creating a more smoother appearance. Lighter valued colors can also achieve the same effect. We can burnish colors using sand or even a white colored pencil. To make the values even darker, we can go over the top with a bit of dark umber. We want the indigo blue to be dominant in many of the darker areas of the ice cubes. Because this color is a cooler color, and also because it's part of the primary color scheme that we want to accentuate in this drawing. We'll continue developing the colors on the ice cubes that extend out from the cola, working our way from the left to the right. We'll continue darkening the values with a combination of dark umber and indigo blue, allowing that indigo blue to be dominant. And we'll also create transitions of color and value with applications of the color sand and white, burnishing these applications with the colorless blender, all the while accentuating our colors with additional applications of Spanish orange. Even the visible portion of the cola that can be seen through the glass on the right side of the glass features the same color combinations. Dark umber and indigo blue are layered to create a dark value. Transitions of value are accentuated using various grays and then burnished with a colorless blender. We also have areas of highlight that can be accentuated with applications of white. Right along the area where the cola actually meets the glass, we have a very strong defined line. This line is defined again with a combination of dark umber and indigo blue. This time we'll allow the dark umber to dominate. We'll continue colored pencil applications on the areas of ice that are visible through the cola. This time, however, we'll allow the darker values to be dominated by the dark umber. We can also create a few gradations of value and slight changes in value happening in the cola itself using the dark umber. Colored pencil applications made here smooth out any streaks that were left by the marker applications, but still allow the color of the marker to show through. We can accentuate the color here with a bit of burnt ochre as well, making the color appear more natural. Here again, we'll apply portions of Spanish orange to the lower portion as well to pull out more of that yellow color. We can also enhance a few highlights with this color as well. Dark umber is used to clarify some of the edges, in this case the edges of one of the ice cubes, and also to darken the values in this location. Here again, we can create smooth transitions of value with lighter applications using the burnt ochre and the dark umber. Colored pencil applications are then burnished using a colorless blender to smooth transitions of color and value even further. Highlights are added using sand and white. We can add a few details as well with the dark umber. We'll continue this process working our way to the right side of the glass, but before we go any further, let's start pulling out some of the reds that exist in this location. A bit of crimson lake is used to pull out a few of those reds. We'll also accentuate, of course, the yellows with a bit of Spanish orange. Then we can burnish these applications with the colorless blender. We'll continue to push the contrast in this lower area with a bit of dark umber. Then we'll simply move our way down to the bottom portion of the glass. Here, again, we'll start applying darker values with the dark umber. We'll also pull out a few of the reds on the left side of the glass, again with Crimson Lake. Then we'll burnish these applications with the colorless blender. Subtle transitions of value and additional details, of course, can be added using the dark umber. Using the same color combination, we'll work our way to the middle and right side of the bottom portion of the glass, again applying dark umber in the areas of darkest value, and then accentuating colors using Spanish orange, a bit of burnt ochre, and of course adding a few additional highlights. Of course, a bit of Crimson Lake is also added here before being burnished with the colorless blender. A few strong highlights are added on the lower portion with a white. And we'll also strengthen up some of the darker values on the bottom portion of the glass, again sticking with our dark umber. It may seem like there are loads of different colors that exist in this drawing, but actually you can see that there's only a few different colors. It's all in how these colors are layered over the top of the marker applications, how much pressure you place on these applications, and then how they're blended or burnished into the surface with a colorless blender. There's no real need to go out and buy every single pencil. As you can see, you can create a variety of different colors with just a few. Now we'll begin with our colored pencil applications on the lower portion of the glass. We'll start by adding bits of blue with the indigo blue, and then go over the top of it with a variety of different grays. We'll burnish these applications with the colorless blender. Over the large portion of white, we'll add an application of 50% French gray. This color is only slightly darker in value than the white of the paper. We'll burnish it with the colorless blender. Then we'll start darkening up some of the values down here. We'll apply dark umber to make some of the values a bit stronger or darker, and then over the top we'll apply a bit of indigo blue, making the value appear a little bit cooler. We'll burnish these applications with a colorless blender. We'll repeat this process for all three of the darker sections of value that happen on the very bottom portion of the glass. We'll add a bit of variety to the stripes of darker value that happen in the center portion. And then we'll add a few highlights with a white. 50% French gray is used to ease transitions of color and value on either side of the lower portion, and to define the edges of the lower portion of the glass as well. This color is also gently applied to either side of the glass in the upper portion, and then burnished with a colorless blender. We can start defining the edges of the upper rim of the glass now with a dark umber. The contrast here should be strong, so the marks made are bold. The 50% French gray is used here as well. Now we'll develop the shadow and reflection that happens underneath the glass on the table. A bit of 70% cool gray is applied here with a light application. Over the top, we can blend this application with the colorless blender, creating a subtle and small transition from darker values to light. Now for the reflection on the side of the glass. For this, we'll lay down a plane of glass over the top of the drawing and use it as a straight edge to define the edge of the reflection. We'll apply white, allowing it to fade in intensity as it extends away from the line that we drew. We'll repeat this process to create an additional reflection on the side of the glass. We can also use the white to add a few subtle highlights in areas, and we'll also use it on the sides of the glass to make it appear more rounded. We'll strengthen up a few last highlights to complete the drawing. And now our marker and colored pencil drawing is complete. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to the channel. And if you're ready to learn even more about drawing and painting, then why not check out our comprehensive membership program, which includes video courses, live lessons, ebooks, lesson plans, and much, much more. Just click on the button in the center of your screen to learn more about our program, or click on the card in the upper right-hand corner. Thank you so much for watching.